Hello, welcome to Open Oven. My name is Mike Smith. I am not a chef. I'm just a guy who likes to cook. I like to eat, of course. I've learned some recipes along the way. I was the oldest of 3 boys in a single parent family, mom and 3 boys in a house, so I had to learn to cook. I was the one who would cook when mom wasn't cooking, so learned a few recipes along the way. And so we're gonna make a couple of those today. We're gonna make a mushroom pork chops. So a pork chop in kind of a mushroom sauce, and then we're going to make some potato wedges. Real easy wedges you can make in an air fryer. So we're going to use our conventional glass top burner and our air fryer today. So let's get started. I'm going to take the meat, and we're just going to salt and pepper that meat. So I'm going to separate that a little bit. And just salt and pepper to season, to just, however you like that, whatever you like. If you want to use some garlic pepper or garlic salt, you're welcome to do that. I'm going to put a decent amount on there. And I'm going to flip it over. And we're going to do it on the other side as well. And pepper, this isn't spicy pepper, so you want enough on there that you can actually see it. We're gonna take that, and we're gonna make sure our pan is hot, not too hot. You're usually probably medium temperature. We're gonna use a little bit of olive oil, get that so that it's not sticking. Wait till the hot oil, of course, anytime you're frying, anytime you're using oil, wait till the oil is hot before you put the meat in. Because if you don't, the meat will just absorb the oil. You're now creating an oily meat instead of frying, using the olive oil to fry. Again, olive oil, obviously a little healthier oil than a lot of others, and it also doesn't burn like you would if you were using butter, because you're going to use a decently high temperature here. So, and the way you can test it is you can take the meat, a piece of meat, if you wanted to, you can actually just dip it in. It should sizzle. You can hear that. Now we know that the oil is hot enough. So we're going to put this in here. Hear that nice sizzle. And we're going to let that cook probably on each side about 6 minutes per side. All right, our pork chops are well underway. We're gonna kind of lid those, and we're gonna start on our side dish, or our potato or rice or whatever you happen to be. Today we're gonna make homemade wedges that we're gonna be able to put in. We've washed our potatoes. I leave the skin on. You wanna take the skin off, take the skin off. You want these, again, to be not too thick. Almost cut my finger off. Is that a bad thing? I guess it's okay. We're not bleeding, so we're good. That's what happens when you use sharp knife. You got to be very careful. All right, so we're now in 4 pieces. You want to cut this potato. I'm starting with about 4 medium size into 8 pieces. Then you know you're kind of at the right size. All right. Each potato 8 pieces. Should be pretty close to the size you'll want for your wedges. I'm probably going to do 3 here because I want to make sure there's enough room. You can always go and cook the rest of them in the air fryer once you've done some. What I have is not a real big air fryer. Obviously, the larger air fryers can do a little bit more, but keep in mind if you're using the larger air fryers, it also takes a little longer. Okay, so we're going to make the dip that you're going to, or the coating that you're going to do for your potatoes. Olive oil, 1.5 teaspoons or so. We've got a bunch of spices, powdered spices. We're going to go with 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, which I already sized out. We're going to use some parsley, same thing, about 1/2 teaspoon. The recipe that I know asks for 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder. We're actually going to use chili peppers this time. That'll add a little bit of heat. Probably about 1/4 teaspoon though, because that's going to be a little hotter than chili powder usually is. And then we're going to kind of mix that up. This will get a little bit wet. We're going to put some salt and pepper in there. We're going to throw all of those wedges in there, mix that up. Our air fryer is already at temperature. We're going to do it at 400 degrees. Get your hands dirty. Gets that coating on there. There we go. And you're looking probably at about 15 minutes or so. There you go. We're going to take those, spread them out in your air fryer. As long as there's room, you shouldn't be. Those should cook nicely. Probably at about 10 minutes. I'll set it for about 10 minutes. I will check those at 10-minute mark and give them a little shuffle. We'll be right back and we'll continue on with our pork chops. And welcome back. So our pork chops are finished for the wonder of television. We just advanced it a little bit, but you're looking at 5-6 minutes on each side. And so what we're going to end up doing is we're going to put those aside. You can get you a really good chance to see what they kind of look like here. I'm going to set those aside. They look yummy. And we're going to use the same pan. You can see there's some nice juicy looking oil in there. Remember, we had a little bit of olive oil. And we're going to use that. I'm just going to turn that on low so it doesn't start to overcook. And then we're going to use some butter in a second. We're going to put some butter in there, let that butter melt, and that'll help golden, really make these mushrooms. We're using portobello mushrooms. When you're cutting portobello mushrooms, you want to take the stem out. That stem's just, you can eat it. There's nothing wrong with eating it, but people who eat a lot of mushrooms say that it'll be kind of ground tasting or woody tasting. And we also want to take, again, you can eat this flesh in here, but most people will tell you to just kind of spoon that out of there. So you just get most of it out of there. Again, it's some people say that it makes a difference, some people doesn't. I prefer just to take a large amount of the dark flesh from the underside off the mushroom. But again, it's completely edible. There's no problem if you do eat it. So we're going to get rid of that. All right. So, and then you're going to cut these to whatever size or whatever consistency you want to use. We're going to end up frying them. And it's going to be, obviously it's going to go in our sauce that we make and that we end up finishing up those pork chops in. And I'm looking for about 8 ounces of mushroom or a cup. I'll grab my cup so that we know that we're somewhere around what the recipe asks for. Again, I keep them fairly small so that we know that they're going to cook. It's hard to really know what a cup of mushrooms looks like when you're cutting them, especially portobello mushrooms because they're so big. That's why I'm using the cup, just so I have a little better idea. Turn that heat back up a bit, and there's our cup. We're going to take our butter. I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons. We're going to get that in. You can see that it's already sizzling. We're going to add some butter to that, give it some nice richness. Like I said, I'm not cleaning the plate. I'm using all that pork sauce and fat, adding the butter, and then we're going to cook these mushrooms in here. And I know you can't smell this, but this smells really nice. This recipe is similar to one that my mom made when we were growing up. She called it, for pork or beef, she called it Swiss steak. If we were using steak, and then mushroom pork chops. This is a little bit different recipe. I kind of found some recipes I liked online and kind of used those. But the idea of making Swiss steak or mushroom pork chops came from my mother. A lot of my recipes that I make, and a lot of the ones I've made on the show, have come from some of the things that I ate as a child and my mom's recipes. And we're actually going to cook those mushrooms. So we're going to kind of do it on low to medium heat. And you see those brown up really nice. But we want them actually cooking. While that's cooking away, just going to take a quick peek at these are pretty much done. So you can see our wedges look fantastic. And the wedges are done a little bit ahead of the rest of the meal. So I cut them off so that I could always put them on for another minute or so and heat those up before once we have everything done, once we have the mushrooms and the sauce, and put the pork chops back into that sauce, then we can put those wedges on for another minute or so. Look at that. Smells fantastic. And when we come back, I'm going to go over the sauce, what we're going to put in there, and we're going to finish this wonderful meal up. And I'll give you all the details here shortly. We'll see you back here in just a bit. And we're back. All right, mushrooms are cooked, ready to go. All right, so you need to do these in order. What we're going to do first is we're going to add about a teaspoon of garlic. We're going to cook that for about 30 seconds or so. And we're using minced garlic. That's what you should use for this recipe. Just the liquid, and it breaks down so much quicker than using actual garlic in this particular case. So I'm going to turn up a bit. Let that garlic cook and mix it really, really well with the mushrooms. Like I said, about 30 seconds. All right, we're going to take a teaspoon, a teaspoon and a half of flour. We're going to mix that in. This is going to help thicken for what we're going to be adding some broth and some thickening agent here right away. This is our thickening agent. This is going to get mixed in there. Cook that for about a minute. You can see it's thickening. I'm scraping a lot of the stuff off the bottom and the sides of the pan. All right, we're going to take a cup of broth. Doesn't really matter what kind of broth you use. Vegetable broth is what we're using. And we're going to get that in there. And we're going to simmer that. Accidentally turned it off. There we go. Got the heat back. And I got that on high now because we want to get that to a simmer. So you can start to see, it's starting to look a bit more like a gravy. Stirring often, again, scraping off anything that's on the sides and the bottom. Looking at about 2 minutes or so. You want it to be nice and hot. I can show you that. And lastly, we're going to put in about 2 tablespoons of cream. And I recommend heavy cream if you have it. Giving that the time it needs to heat up real nice. And basically, once you start to see it bubble and sizzle, then you know and it's just starting to do that now. Then you know you're simmering. And you can start to mix in this cream. I'm going to slowly mix it in. And it's thickening now. In fact, I can probably turn the heat down a bit now. Looks kind of like a gravy. That's going to simmer. It's getting thick, quite thick now. Looks great. Okay, I'm going to turn that down. We're going to go back to our pork chops. We're going to put those pork chops in there. Leave that in there for about a minute or so. Take some of the mushroom mix, pour it over top of the pork chops. Flip them over. Look at that. Looks great, making me hungry. And I'll let that get nice and hot. And soon it'll be ready to go, ready to eat. I'll leave that for a minute or so. Of course, with this meal, you could add a vegetable. You could add any really probably green vegetable. This is your traditional family meal. I talk about growing up as a kid, we always had a meat and a potato and whatever vegetable we happened to have that day. I was fine with the vegetables. I had the one brother who didn't like the vegetables, so it didn't matter what you served, he wasn't going to eat it. But yeah, you could go with corn or carrots, or if you have green beans, or if you have, especially if you have fresh beans, it goes fantastic with this. I'll take a peek at that. We'll take out our wedges. Our wedges look fantastic. going to take a little bit of Parmesan. Put that on there. And finally, our pork chops. Let that get a little warmer. I'm going to tip that over one more time. It smells fantastic. Like I said, if you could smell what I smell, you'd love it. All right, there you go. We'll get some of those mushrooms on there. And if you wanted, you could put some of the gravy, as I call it, on your potatoes. But there you go. Mushroom pork chops and homemade wedges done in the air fryer. Real easy, simple, and relatively inexpensive meal that you could make for your entire family. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time.